Hi there, Jeffin. So I see that you've written your first 2 essays. Great work. Let's take a look at what you wrote. The first one is schools should be more entertaining, or schools should simply educate. Let's see what you wrote. A growing number of people believe that educational institutions have to be more creative in teaching activities, whereas others opine that the primary role of an academic institution is to provide education. I agree with the former view and would like to discuss my points and arguments using different examples. Okay, so far that's perfect. Let's see about the rest of it. Firstly, providing quality education by using different types of teaching methods is very necessary for children in the present century. This is largely because, you don't need a comma here, the academic institutions are more interested in the marks of the students, and they offer teaching in a way that children can memorize the lessons to score good marks in the examinations. But the actual learning would not happen in this scenario, so teachers need to be more creative by using different techniques like problem-solving, group discussion, debates, video teaching, and so on. Fine, very nice. However, try not to start your sentences with but or and. I know that we do this a lot in informal writing or speech, but in the context of IELTS, please try not to do this, okay? For example, the recent research published in The Week magazine indicates that the students who completed their studies from institutions which offer entertaining classes are well placed in international universities and professional colleges for higher education. Therefore, schools should definitely incorporate entertaining methods in teaching learning activities. Okay, lovely. Secondly, development of social skills is another concern why schools should include interesting activities in the teaching process here. More specifically, even though education is the key role of academic institutions, the need of children to learn social skills of communication, honesty, punctuality, respect, pro-social, I don't know what I mean here, behavior, and so on cannot be neglected. Okay, now here, you started out with even though, so this is redundant. You can only use one of these linkers to show contrast. So keep the even though, but take out the but. Take, for example, in the present century, most of the professional jobs in business fields, demand people, and that should be demand with no S, with good social skills, and some jobs give more importance to social talents than academic marks. Hence, academic institutions should offer education by using entertaining methods so that it would help for all around development of the children. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that more entertaining activities should be included in schools, not the schools, just schools. In the future, many academic institutions will incorporate entertaining activities because of the advantages it offers. S here. All right, so Jeffin, everything is great here. There were some minor grammatical errors, but nothing that was particularly concerning. Just little things. This was really, really nice. This is your first essay, so I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and say something that I usually tell people a little further down in their progress. But I'm going to tell you, just because I saw that the level of your writing was so high, I want you to take a look at this. It says schools have to be more entertaining. Others think their sole purpose is to educate. Which do you agree with? It didn't say some people think that schools have to be more entertaining. Do you agree with this and why? If it had said that, then yeah, I can understand why you might want to stick to just that one viewpoint. But here they also showed you this. So I don't think it's a bad idea in this sort of case to also say why you don't agree with the other. You did do that indirectly, but I think you could have also developed it a little more. Like, for example, I felt like you kind of developed it a little bit here, but the reason why I'm pointing this out to you is that if you look at the band descriptors for task achievement, if you look at the higher bands like the 7, the 8, the 9, it says covers all parts of the task. And since they have included this second viewpoint, it might be worthwhile to discuss why you don't actually agree with it. Okay? So I'm just going to put it out there as something I want you to think about as you continue writing these essays. Okay? But on the whole, for your first essay, this was fantastic, really. You covered the acronym really accurately. Most of the grammar, except for those little tiny details, were correct. The vocabulary was very good. Everything was really strong. So really great job. Let's take a look at your second essay here, which is the enjoyable activity. Just so that you know, a lot of people kind of mix the two topics together, even though they're really quite different. So let's see what you did with this one. Okay. There is a universal thought that reading is the ideal method for children, not the children, for children in general, to enhance creativity and better skills, while a growing number of people opine that interesting activities is a better option than reading for the development of imagination skills. You should have just put these in one sentence. You shouldn't have separated them into two. I completely agree with the stated argument and would like to discuss my points and arguments using different examples, okay? Firstly, sports and games they're not one activity, they're two activities. Sports and games are an enjoyable activity for children, again, not the children. I'll explain to you really quickly why. When we want to talk about all the children in the world in general, we say children. When we are referring to a specific group of children and the reader knows what group of children we're talking about, then we say the children. But that's not the case here, so just use children. Alright, so let's try it again. Firstly, sports and games are enjoyable activities for children to achieve different skills. This is largely because, no comma, when students are involved in sports activities like football, cricket, and so on, they learn cooperation, coordination, good communication, imagination, and so on. Also, comma, sports and games would be far more interesting than reading a storybook. Take, for example, many research studies have concluded that the academic performance of students involved in sports and games is excellent compared to other students. Therefore, teachers should encourage the students to be involved here in interesting activities like sports and games and passive activities. Okay, no, this should be encourage the students to be more involved than passive activities. Okay, I'm not super thrilled about the development of this paragraph. I mean, it's good. It's certainly a good paragraph, but it's not really how can I say this? The ideas don't really create how can I say this again? Cohesion between them. So let me tell you why. Okay, so you're saying that sports and games are a way that children can achieve skills, right? And then you said that they learn all these things here. All right, so you said what they learn. And then you said that they're more interesting. All right, here's where you lost it. You said that sports and games are more interesting than reading a book. More interesting. And then your example here didn't support this idea. It just said that the kids who were involved in sports and games had better grades than those kids. So these two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Okay, and that's where you lost it. That's where you lost the cohesion there. You had these two, you had a piece of support and you had a main idea that just did not link with each other. Okay? So let's look at the second, there we go. Let's look at the second body paragraph here. Secondly, many children believe that reading is a boring activity and parents usually compel their children to read certain books. More specifically, children do not develop interest in doing a certain activity, then it is very difficult to make them do the same. Take, for example, a recent research, not a recent research because research is uncountable. There's no a in front of it and we don't make it plural either. So take, for example, recent research conducted in one of the selected schools in southern India, which concluded reading as the least opted for activity by students. That's not a full sentence. Okay, so don't say take, for example. Just say, get rid of the take and say, for example, recent research conducted in one of the selected schools in southern India concluded reading was the least, you're missing a verb here, was the least opted for activity by students. Hence, students should be encouraged to do the activities that, not what, that they prefer, and it should be based on their interests so that many skills can be developed in children. Okay. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that children should be supported to do enjoyable activities for better development of certain skills in the future, comma, here, schools and colleges would promote, should, or will promote more interesting activities among school children because of the benefits it offers, here, S. Okay. Wait, actually, should promote interesting activities because of the benefits they offer. There we go. That's it. Okay. So, I don't really understand the point of your second paragraph. Remember what the task asks us to talk about. It says that it's essentially asking you which activity can promote better skills and creativity, an enjoyable activity or reading. That's essentially what it's asking you. And you said clearly here that other activities do that. Then here, all you did was say that reading is boring. And it's something that no kids like either. So this, and then you said here that if they don't develop an activity, or if they don't develop an interest in it, then it's very difficult to make them. So I don't see how this really argued one side or another. Basically, all you were doing was saying that reading was bad. I think what would have been really nice in this paragraph is instead saying, well, why would anybody think that reading develops good skills? Why would anyone think that reading might develop creativity? That's the way you should be arguing it, okay? And then, it doesn't belong there, but it belongs in this first body paragraph. So you talk about the benefits of reading. You talk about why it might be a worthwhile activity in terms of skills development and creativity. And there are reasons why it could be considered beneficial. And then you could write, having said this, or, despite what has been said, sports and games are, really beneficial and so forth. So I wasn't really clear on why you wrote this paragraph, what the purpose was. You're basically just saying, no, reading is terrible. But even that wasn't really cohesive. Like, you had a lot of different ideas and they didn't seem to be interlocked in any real way. Okay? Now, that said, I'm happy with these essays, especially for your first ones, and especially the previous essay seemed a much stronger essay. This had some errors throughout it, which I think I've spent quite a bit of time talking about, so you should be familiar with what those errors are. Now what you need to do is correct them based on the corrections in this video correction, and then send that file back to us. Also, you'll need to create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes, and then next to the mistake, write down what the suggested correction is. Send that to us as well. And then lastly, you need to write your new set of essays. Try to do this in the next 24 hours or so you can really apply everything you've been learning, okay? I'll be waiting for all of those things, so good luck with your writing, and I look forward to seeing your next set of essays.